So I kind of want to share a story with you. I shared this on a webinar, and I kind of wanted to just share it with you. But it's really interesting because my mother is a college professor, retired. I think she was a teacher for about 40 years. And she's brilliant. She's very intelligent, but she's very archaic technology wise. She has one of those old school phones with the big buttons on it. She doesn't have a smartphone. She's challenged on email. I have to teach her 100 times how to do an email. And in her late 70s, it's just not her thing. And so she asked me one Sunday morning. She was like, David, I go to brunch with the girls all the time, and they're always asking me what you do, and this cloud thing. It's so I just don't understand it. Just like you speak Chinese. She's like, just give me a simple. Just tell me what you do. So I really couldn't get into proof of work versus proof of stake. I couldn't get into mining and everything else. There's just no way I felt like I could explain it. So I said, Mom, have you ever heard of Bitcoin? She said, what? Bitcoin. No. I said, write down Bitcoin. Okay, she writes it down. And I said, we basically do Bitcoin mining. She goes, mining? Yeah, I really can't explain, but there's tons of information out there. Just Google Bitcoin mining. She's okay, sure. So she calls me back later on that afternoon, really, probably within an hour and a half. She's like, David, you need to get out. What do you mean? Just get out of the industry. It's going to be problems and trouble. It's going to be shut down. I said, what do you mean? And she says, well, I was just reading that they just banned it in Plattsburgh. Now, I grew up in upstate New York. I grew up near the Adirondacks and it's central upstate New York. And so it's very close to home. Now, just so you know, Plattsburgh, New York is on the St. Lawrence River up by the Canadian border. They have very, very inexpensive power, hydropower. It's very cold up there. And it's a very small community. And unfortunately, industry has left. It's a little town that was and that could be. So the miners came to this town and they said, hey, listen, we're going to bring a tremendous amount of jobs to your town. We're going to flourish your town. We're going to revitalize it. We're going to bring all these tech jobs into the area. And so the town was like, wonderful, great. So they gave him a permit and they started mining. Well, the problem is that a little town of 20,000 one day woke up and their electric bill jumped as much as $300 a month. Now imagine your electric bill going from 100 to 400. I don't care who you are, how wealthy you are, you're probably going to take notice and say, but if you're on a fixed income, that's serious. That's food off your table. So the people of the town were extraordinarily upset, and they called a moratorium, and they set up a meeting with the city council, and the city council basically put a ban on it for 18 months. So if you don't mind, let me just go ahead and share my screen.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So, okay.
Yeah, I want to share a couple things with you if you don't mind.
Go for it, yeah.
Does she have questions?
No, I was wondering how does that work that the electricity bill goes up for the inhabitants of the town? How does that affect that?
Well, I don't have the exact numbers, but if I remember correctly, I think that they were saying that something to the effect of wait a minute, you guys are a company of 20, and you're using the amount of power of, I'll make up a number because I don't remember the number is, of 20% of our power infrastructure. Wow. No, it's not going to happen. So, again, Bitcoin mining, doesn't take a lot of employees to run. And it's primarily a few specialized people, a few engineers that find equipment, source it, put it on a network to build the security they mine. And so if you just Google Bitcoin ban in Plattsburgh, New York, tremendous amount of articles. This was in March 2018. Okay. You can, Fortune magazine, Bloomberg, etc. So this is March 2018. And here's your article here as well. City of 20,000 residents, etc. In just the very next month, in April 2019, Central Washington State calls a timeout and Bitcoin boom. Now look at these containers, these giant containers with these huge vats and fans, and et cetera, et cetera. And essentially the same thing happened. Last year, an influx of entrepreneurs and developers came to the Pacific Northwest in search of cheap hydropower to do Bitcoin mining.
Right.
Right here it talks about the draw, and I can't pronounce that word very well, Wenatchee Valley, is its rock bottom power rates, thanks to abundant hydropower and its mild climate, which is helpful for efficient cooling. But cities and counties in northern central Washington seem unsure whether to embrace this new line of business. Basically, in short, in the past month and a half, they put a moratorium for 6 or 12 months on cryptocurrency operations. They said specialized data centers that process record virtual currency transactions suck vast amounts of electricity, and there's only so much spare electric capacity left. Here's another article. Central Washington utilities in pursuit of rogue Bitcoin miners. All these Bitcoin miners are setting up in their homes. Well, it's not easy to identify. It's not hard to identify someone who's taking 20 times the electricity as your neighbor.
Right, exactly.
And yeah, and so again, the power companies are singling them out and they're shutting them down. That's April this year. Okay, here's another article on it. What happens when your Bitcoin miners take over your town? People aren't happy about it. Keep moving. The next month, May 2018, Bitcoin's need for electricity is its Achilles heel. Forbes magazine.
It's interesting how they're using those shipping containers and just converting them into like massive computers, right? With big fans. It's amazing.
It is. The guy I was mentioning earlier, brilliant guy, they're using excess electricity off the power stations. Where is that photo? I lost that photo. I guess it changed out. He's using excess power off power stations. Well, great for a guy that can build $1 million data center. And how does that work for the small guy? How does it work for decentralization?
Yeah,
it doesn't. Right? Where's it going? Is eventually the only mining is going to be when you piggyback up against a utility station? What if that utility station doesn't produce enough power? What if it has to be nuclear power? Who owns the nuclear power stations? So again, Plattsburgh was March. Central Washington and Idaho was April, May. Moving forward, Bitcoin mining was banned in a small town.
You know,
sorry, this is Plattsburgh again.
Yeah, and just jumping in there, it's like currently, like I told you earlier, here in South Africa, we have now what they call load shedding, right? So we don't have enough power. The power grid isn't sufficient to serve the needs of the citizens of this country and business and all that. So I don't know how it really works, but they're shutting off the power for like 6 hours here, 6 hours there on a daily basis. And maybe they're storing it, maybe they're directing it somewhere else. And that's starting to happen now. It happened a couple of years ago, frequently, every day. And now it's happening again. So it's like there isn't enough power to go around. So there's a bit of competition here. And it opened up a market here because there's a monopoly here on power supply. So there's only one company that can produce commercial power. And when the legislation is rewritten so that they can privatize the sector for individuals to start up power companies, then it's going to change the game. But I see what's happening is that a lot of people are speculating to, instead of having centralized power that is charged out to individuals, there's this need for creating, for individuals to create their own power, like you've talked about as well, to create your own hydropower or use the energy of a river or the wind. And I see the future can be such that a mining company would need to generate their own power, right? Wouldn't that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. Hopefully the promise of our future is microgrids where, based on cryptocurrency, we'll be sharing our power. Hopefully a lot of people will be merging into the new technologies of solar, utilizing micro hydro if you have a small stream or a river on your land. I'm hoping that new technologies come out, that we bring free energy out of the quantum. There's a lot of movement in that area, and I truly pray that we do what humans do. We figure it out. And so a lot of people in proof of work are very combative towards me, or a lot very, I don't want to say angry towards me, very argumentative. I've had a lot of debates with a lot of people, and they forget the fact that I want Bitcoin to work. I want proof of work to work. I want humans to innovate ourselves to the next level of power. I want to be able to mine off barges in the middle of the ocean based on the quantum free energy. It's not as if I'm pushing proof of work because I'm either anti-power or because I'm such an environmentalist, et cetera, et cetera. It really just comes down to, I see a major problem. I see the potential of hitting a Bitcoin hitting a brick wall in 3 to 5 years based on power. And I say this all the time, and I'll say it again because I think it's really important to state. One of two things need to change. Either one, Bitcoin needs to change its algorithm and do proof of stake, proof of work, hybrid, or move to proof of stake. That's not going to happen. It's, as you know, it's really, really hard to do a fork in Bitcoin, and there's a lot of politics behind it, and it jeopardizes the value of the coin. There's a lot of negatives on doing a fork. So Bitcoin's algorithm is not going to change. The second thing that needs to change is our power grid. Our power grid has been in place for decades, long before I was born. It's not changing anytime soon.
Yeah.
When you look out your window and you see the light posts out there, and you see those lines, and you think about the power coming to your home, power coming to your business, the power grid's not changing anytime soon. I feel really good when I drive down the road and I see a heck of a lot of solar projects and a lot of wind projects and a lot of things happening. Wind's not that efficient. Unfortunately, California went down the road of wind power, spent a crazy amount of money, and you have these giant windmills everywhere that are just sitting there, and they failed.
Yeah.
Let me share a little conversation I had with somebody yesterday. He's been doing solar. He's a solar company and has been building solar arrays for giant mining operations in China, and they're buying up a crazy amount of land in Nevada because they're going to basically hedge their bet and say, when all the different jurisdictions like the ones I just talked about start shutting Bitcoin down, then they're going to have all these vast tracts of land out near Vegas. Nevada's a pretty free state. They have some pretty pro-business laws. They have some pretty free, open laws. It's pretty much very much a free state.
Yeah.
So they're hedging their bet that they're going to be able to leverage the Nevada government to be able to do Bitcoin mining in the desert. I hope that happens, and I'm fully supportive of that. If they want to do this massive solar arrays in a desert, awesome. But I have a big question for them. It's 110 degrees in the desert in the summer. Our machines generate 10, 20 degrees temperature. Bitcoin mining machines create more heat. So if you have this giant warehouse full of machines that are generating heat, and machinery, the optimum temperature to run machines is really 56 degrees. So how are you going to refrigerate a giant warehouse of machines that are producing 10, 20, 30 degrees more than the actual room temperature? And you're trying to bring the temperature down from 110 degrees in the middle of the desert all the way down to 56 degrees? Good luck.
Yeah, that's a problem.
So if you don't mind, unless you have a question, let me jump forward to really the crux of this conversation. Canada. So this is the article that raised alarm for me. Canada plans regulations for crypto mining via excess hydropower. Canada is currently in the process of drawing up regulation for cryptocurrencies. The Minister of Energy of Canada is focused on the crypto mining industry, and in particular, the energy usage that accompanies this sector. Hydro-Quebec, sorry, this is my way. Hydro-Quebec, Quebec's main supplier of hydroelectric power, turned down miners' request for cheaper power back in March this year. According to the company, the main concern is the mining could sap up 25% of the power output since the estimated number of mining companies exceeds 100. And they all made requests seeking reduction in the price of energy needed for mining. However, after the excess excitement regarding new potential customers, the plant quickly realized that the number of requests could exceed the production capacities. So even up in Canada, very cold, perfect for mining because the temperatures are low, hydropower, massive hydro stations, very, very inexpensive power that's renewable, that's clean, backed by a very stable government. Canada is one of the best governments on the planet. And the government is already on their back heels saying, well, wait a minute. Whoa. First off, your applications would take all of our power. Right now, the main concern is it could sap up at least 25%. Where are you going with this? So, let me get to the positive. Because I've talked about a lot of negatives. The positive is that what we're doing is going to completely revolutionize the Bitcoin mining, because if we can move to proof of stake not only uses 0.004% of the amount of power of proof of work, but really more importantly, that I haven't even said yet in this entire talk, and I think this is actually probably the most important thing I can say. Our machines are web servers. Web servers are the backbone of the internet. You're not shutting down web servers anytime soon. You shut down web servers, you shut down the entire internet, right? Our machines, the equipment is readily available. It's based on regular processors, regular RAM chips, regular hard drives, regular rack-mounted servers, that regular and basic web servers and web hosting is run on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You're not going to shut it down anytime soon.
Exactly. I mean, the whole internet, the whole information infrastructure is running on web servers.
Exactly.
And you're right. And one thing that's important, and I'm just going to throw it out to you, you really obviously know this, and that's that a web server is not necessarily one machine, one piece of hardware. With virtual servers, you can have multiple servers running on one machine. But I think that's different with proof of work, right? Because there it's actually one machine.
Your typical residential proof of work mining is an Antminer S9. An Antminer S9 produces 14 theta hash a second of computing power. And it's a pretty expensive machine. It draws a crazy amount of electricity. It produces a tremendous amount of heat. And our machines are regular. For example, it's a regular Dell rack-mounted server. And yes, we build an array of servers, and we have hypervisor and the cloud service platform we built. We're able to optimize our resources so we can utilize a pool of RAM, a pool of processing speed, pool of hard drive space.
So this is why
we can fractionalize it.
Right, and that's what you mentioned. That's why the power requirement for you is 0.004% of what, say again, of what a proof of work
mining is. Yeah, proof of stake uses 0.0004.
That's very impressive, actually. So it makes sense that the mining industry will still need to wake up, and it's obviously the regulatory bodies wake up to this idea that you're bringing into the market, which is proof of stake with Syntropy Cloud Mining.
Well, here's the interesting thing is those are the official numbers. If you look at how to build a node, and essentially, they say you can use one RAM chip, one processor, and 20 gigabytes of hard drive space, and have your own IP address. Well, really, essentially, to run it right, if you want to build it fast and you want it not to crash, etc., you could use as much as twice that. But we were working on building our nodes with a robot, and Clint, our senior engineer, I had reached a brick wall myself on it. I made it as fast as I could do it. And I turned to him and I said, can you make this faster? So I tasked him on the mission to build our nodes a little faster. And he comes back to me and he says, you know, David, I can re-engineer this so we can fractionalize this even smaller. And I was like, but that's not the task at hand. He's like, yeah, but think about it. We can use far less machines by doing it this way. So I want to do a whole talk on that. I don't want to dive down that path too much because it's kind of a whole subject of its own.
Yeah.
But we're essentially what we're doing is we're also re-engineering these proof of stake coins. We're feeding, because it's open source, we're going to be feeding, you know, new code base improvements, etc., and we're going to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually going to get better than it is today, and we're going to just improve upon these technologies.
Yeah, and I think that's very exciting, man. I'd like to. We need to continue this conversation and see what's happening with out there, with Canada, the electric usage, power, the threat that really that's raising alarm bells right now with Bitcoin. Of course, because Bitcoin is the measuring the yardstick for energy usage. So there's quite a bit to talk about how that is different with proof of stake and with the fractional mining you're talking about. And I think it sounds like there's sort of a revolution coming in the crypto space when it comes to mining, and that's the exciting part.
Did I clarify correctly that this article is actually really, really good news for us?
No? How's that?
Well, maybe I missed the entire point I was trying to convey. For the Bitcoin community, this is extraordinarily bad news because the mining worldwide has been flocking to Canada for its inexpensive, abundant power. That's a cold environment, a very supportive government. And so this is a huge hit against cryptocurrency in general, particularly Bitcoin and the proof of work. This is really, really good news for us. It's very, very good news for proof of stake. It validates everything we've said. It supports everything that we're doing. Canada will not be shutting us down anytime soon because we are not proof of work. We're not taking crazy power. We're using a very modest amount of power. We're built on a traditional web server platform in a traditional database center. Traditional data center that's run by hydropower. And so, you know, again, they're not going to be shutting down traditional web servers anytime soon. This is going to be going after the proof of work out there, like Bitcoin and Ethereum and all the rest of them. And it's very bad news in general for cryptocurrencies. So I'm not happy about it because at the end of the day, everything right now comes back to Bitcoin. But what it does is it validates what we said. And what I'm hoping is that we're going to have a transition from proof of work into proof of stake. I'm hoping that people start using Bitcoin Green, right? Bitcoin Green uses 0.004% of the amount of power. It's more advanced than Bitcoin. It's crypto 3.0 moving into 4.0. We're going to push it forward into 4.0. What I mean by that is crypto 3.0, you can do micropayments. It processes in milliseconds. You can do private send. There's also it's a much more advanced technology than Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think we need to probably talk about that again at some point. Really, more the details on how Bitcoin Green differs from Bitcoin, because obviously the words are the same generally, but it's built on different technologies, and there's a lot of intricacies one can get involved with. So, but
it's actually built on the same technology because it started with Bitcoin. Dash forked it in, I think, 2015, and then PVIX forked or copied Dash, and then Bitcoin Green copied PVIX and improved upon it.
Okay.
So again, every one of these iterations gets better and better, and it's a whole nother conversation. But I just want to close by saying this is very bad news for cryptocurrencies, very bad news for proof of work mining. It's very, very, very good news for us and what we're doing in proof of stake. It validates everything we said. I'm hoping, and it's an alarm bell for the community out there to say, let's take a second look. Let's not let Bitcoin, hit a brick wall or crash or die because a lot of things are dependent upon it. Let's get a a systematic transition out of proof of work into proof of stake. Let's support emerging coins and technologies like Bitcoin Green, and let's move this forward.
That sounds very positive. And I think you have a plan to make that a reality. So good talking to you, David, man. It's awesome.
All right.
Looking forward to hearing some more, man, and hearing some more about developments on the Syntropy Cloud platform.
All right, John. Thank you.
Talk soon.
Till next time. Take care.